And my best friend was like, they are books about a badass blonde assassin. I'm sure you will enjoy them, Tilly. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about what happened when I finally read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. As you can tell from this title, I have never read any Sarah J Maas books before, but my god, have people been onto me about reading them. And I've finally done it. I have finally read Throne of Glass, and I loved it. A brief spoiler warning before we begin. If you haven't read Throne of Glass, please stop right here, don't watch the video, go read the book and come back and watch the video after. I will be mentioning specific events in the book and certain characters, and by all means I do not want you to get spoiled for this series or this book in particular. So I've borrowed all the Throne of Glass books from various friends, so shout out to everyone that has given me their Throne of Glass book to read. However, before I picked up the first book in the series, I literally had no idea of anything. So when I picked up Throne of Glass, I had no idea who the characters were, who the ships were, not even what world this book was set in. The only things I knew was Holly had told me that the books were about a badass blonde female assassin. My friend Gloria told me that Sarah J Maas always uses the enemies to lovers trope, and my other friend Bex told me that the series gets smuttier as the books go along. She also said that at first I might not recognize the names of the characters in this book, however the characters' names do change. There is a reason why, and I will find out as I read the series. What this means, I have no idea, but I know in a few months when I go back and rewatch this video after I finish the whole series, I will be so embarrassed at how naive I am at the moment. I've heard that I need to read the prequel, The Assassin's Blade, at some point. I know that there's not very much LGBT or POC representation, so I am slightly about that, but I do know that these books are very, very popular, and once I finish this series, I'm gonna go straight on to ACOTAR. But staying on this first series, what did I think of Throne of Glass? Well, I absolutely loved it. The book is set in a fantasy world, and normally I don't really vibe with this. I much prefer fantasy books that are set in real life places, like the Shadowhunter Chronicles. I find it really interesting how you can have like contemporary places like New York City, but there's like a supernatural underworld in the background. That's a type of YA setting that I really enjoy and that I really like to read. So yeah, I was really shocked when I started to enjoy this new fantasy world. I loved this little map that she included at the start of her books. I found myself quite a lot as I was reading going back to the map and trying to pinpoint where everything was. The names. I would be lying to you if I said that I could immediately pronounce these names correctly. I would also be lying to you if I say that I haven't got a pronunciation guide right here to help me in this video. But honestly, you should have heard some of the ways that I was reading these names in my head. I immediately fell in love with Selena. Oh, are you really surprised here? You know how I feel about Emma Carstairs. I was so intrigued at her backstory, and I have been told that I need to read The Assassin's Blade sooner rather than later. So if any of you guys are watching this who have read the whole series, please let me know when you think I should read this book. I loved the use of mythology in this book, particularly the Fae. For example, when Selena travels back from Endovia right at the start, and there's that scene when she wakes up the next morning in the tent and the fairies have left her like a scattering of white flowers. That was kind of freaky, but I kind of loved it. The more chapters I read, the more I realised just how badass Selena is. When she scaled the castle wall to rescue Nox, I was shook. When she crashed the Yulmas ball looking fire, I was shook. When she kept going down the secret passages at night, I was shook. Catch me never doing that. I literally would have shut the door and demanded straight away that I be moved bedrooms. Fuck living next to that passageway. Nehemia, I loved. I was so shocked when Selena started to suspect her. I was like, girl, I'm sure she's innocent. There's no way that Nehemia is murdering everyone. She's like one of the coolest characters. Queen Eleanor and the word marks. Oh my gosh, so creepy. I read like all these chapters at night, and when I said I was scared out of my fucking mind. I honestly thought there was someone in my room standing at the bottom of my bed. These chapters like sent shivers down my spine. I feel like Sarah's descriptions are really, really good. They're really gory, but they do keep you on your toes. I think they're like a nice mix of scary, supernatural, and gory enough to gross you out, but not too much that you stop reading. Every time Selena mentioned these word marks, I did think of that symbol from Frozen and Frozen 2. I don't know if you guys agree, but this is literally how I pictured these word marks. Coltane plotting to poison Selena. jealous bitch. And obviously with Coltane, we had Duke Perrington. His character made me very, very uncomfortable. He's horrible, he's creepy, and he just, ugh, gross. Chaol trying to give Selena his sword in the final duel. I'm gonna move on to my ships in a minute, but this moment I was just a mess. And then you get Nehemia instead giving Selena her staff. This is the biggest power move yet. And then in the duel when Selena is drugged and Chaol tries to help her up, he's talking to her on the sidelines and his voice is the only thing she can focus on. And then swoops in Queen Eleanor trying to help Selena in the duel. Yes, queens support queens, we love to see it. Then you get Perrington totally playing Coltane, pretending he had no idea about the poisoning. Just comedy gold. Nehemia then tells Selena that it was actually her drawing the word marks under her bed, and every time Selena washed them off, she got more and more pissed off. I don't know why I found that scene so funny. But honestly, the friendship between these two is golden. I did not expect their friendship to be such a big motif and to be such a big thing in this book. Perrington and the king discussing those rings that they can use for mind control. What? I know that this has been set up for the later books because it happened so far near the end, and I know that all you guys watching this are probably shaking your head because I've just missed like a huge hint and I don't know what's gonna happen next. Talking about the last few chapters in this book, I did actually think the ending was really well done. I think Sarah wrapped it up really nicely. I mean, the king was a total dick, but at this point I was disappointed and not surprised. However, I did see that cheeky bit of banter between Selena and Chaol at the end, and it did warm my little heart. But yes, Chaol, speaking of ships, let's move on to who I think is gonna get with who. I have been told not to ship anyone too early because apparently it always changes, but so far, literally going off just reading the first book and knowing nothing of the world or the series, this is what I'm currently thinking. Prince Dorian. What a smooth bastard, buying her candy and a puppy. Are you kidding me? What girl would not melt if a guy did this? So Selena did say that Prince Dorian was the only guy she wanted since Sam. Obviously, I don't know who Sam is, but I have a hunch that it was a previous love interest. I have a hunch that I will find out about him in the Assassin's Blade. But yeah, about halfway through, I was like, right, Prince Dorian and Selena seem pretty solid. This has got to be it. This has got to be the ship that sells the whole series. Nope, I was a fool. I feel like I've just got whiplash from that brief relationship. She's over that before it even really began. The speed that Selena ended this relationship, you gotta hand it to her really. But I want to talk about Chaol. Is this one of the enemies to lover ships that Sarah J Maas apparently is known for using? I mean, Chaol definitely likes Selena. He watched her on her balcony at Yormos as she stared at the stars, but I would also argue that near the end of the book, she starts to like him as well. I feel like when he offered her his staff, it was such like a trigger moment and all her feelings came to the surface. I don't know why, but I have a really bad feeling that I'm gonna regret saying how much I love these two together in about 3 books time. And please, if you know something about Chaol that I don't comment it. I really want to find out if he's a bad guy on my own. But if something is up with these two, maybe just comment like a winky face and like you'll see ... because right now I am so invested in this shit it hurts. Okay, hopes, expectations, what I think is going to happen next. I have been told that the first book is quite insular in that it focuses so much on this trial and that the later books are a lot more complex and focus more on the outside world, similar to how in the first book of the Divergent series, Divergent was all about Triss getting into Dauntless and getting trained, whereas Insurgent and Allegiant were more about the outside world and the rebellion and everything else that was happening exterior to this tiny insular world of factions. I have a hunch that Selena is descended from Fae, is descended from Queen Eleanor, just because she keeps getting visited by fairies. I also feel like she has got a real Fae name. I have seen the name Aelin floating around. Please don't react if that is her real name. Not that I can see you react anyway because this is through a camera, but please don't comment if I am right. This is my current hunch. Remember, that is literally based on me reading this first book. I know nothing. I think I just saw this name floating around in a tag somewhere and the fan art next to it looked very much like Selena. Also at the end, when Queen Eleanor visits Selena, she says blood ties can't be broken, and I'm assuming this is a blood tie between Eleanor and Selena herself. But other than that, I don't know what's gonna happen. I have no idea. The only thing I know is that I'm going to be in for a bumpy ride. Hey, that's the end of my Throne of Glass review, my Throne of Glass book discussion. Please give it a like if you have enjoyed it and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And please share this video to any friends and family members who also like the Throne of Glass series and you think would enjoy watching me realise just how wrong I have been in this first video, and watching me discover the truth behind Selena and her name and everything else, and just like laugh at me because I'm so naive at the moment, and in 2 months I will know everything. As I've said, I am new to the Throne of Glass and Sarah J Maas fandom, so please comment any Instagram pages, any Tumblr pages, or any booktubers who you think I might enjoy. I am trying so hard to avoid spoilers. It's so hard because I really want to enjoy the fan art, but I just don't want to be spoiled for the next few books. When I say I actually enjoyed this book so much, and I am so upset that it's taking me so long to read it. So I will see you guys next time in my next review and subsequent discussion in the next book of the Throne of Glass series.